Saturday on Denver 7.
It's going to affect your performance, ability to swim. It could cause you to panic.
Today marks 1 week since a person went missing boating in the Cherry Creek Reservoir. What you can do to keep yourself safe ahead of a hot weekend out on the water. Wildfires are still burning south of the metro this morning. Why people are waking up on edge. And a fun surprise from some Rapids players is coming to life today. What this means for students in the community. Good Saturday morning and welcome to Denver 7 News. I'm Jessica Crawford.
And I'm Katie LaSalle. Thank you so much for joining us. And here are some stories that we're following for you this weekend.
Educators, students, and parents are rallying at Cottonwood Park in Aurora today. They're demanding Aurora Public Schools keep Sable Elementary along with other schools in the district open for the coming school year. Those organizing the rally say there's been changes to the original list of closures without their input. Everything kicks off at noon.
Well, for the first time in 3 years, grads are walking across the stage for their commencement at CU Denver today. The university is celebrating 2,200 grads for their 2022 ceremony, and that includes more than 70 doctoral and 400 master's students, along with undergrads from 21 countries and 36 states. This starts at 9 at the Tivoli Quad.
Congrats to them. The Denver Colfax Marathon returning tomorrow for the first time since 2019. Air Tracker 7 flew over the course Friday as crews set up ahead of the 5K race this morning. Several roads will be closed today and tomorrow. You can find a complete list over at runcolfax.org.
And a mild morning out there for many of our runners, walkers, and in terms of conditions across the metro, once again, we'll see mostly clear skies, a warm, dry day with gusty winds and elevated fire danger in spots over western and southern Colorado. This morning, though, crystal clear conditions up near Glenwood Springs, mostly clear skies over Denver City Park as they set up there for a big morning and afternoon. In terms of temperatures, we're in the mid-50s currently. Winds relatively calm, sustained from the west just at 3 miles per hour, but the winds will kick up later on today. Your fresh air forecast this morning through 10 o'clock will be in the upper 60s, noon right around 72 degrees, and daytime highs in the upper 70s to low 80s. Strongest winds expected over the western, it's mainly over higher terrain from the west near our foothills. Also could see wind gusts around 40 miles per hour, and south of the Denver metro area with low relative humidity, a red flag warning set to take effect. No advisories for Denver for today, and then we're going to warm up once again tomorrow. I'll take you through the forecast and when our next chance for any rain is still to come.
Cherry Creek Reservoir is back open this weekend. This is 1 week since a man went missing after a day of boating went wrong. As Katie just mentioned, we have nice weather in store for today, and that means more people out on the water. Denver 7's Patrick Perez joins us live now. And Patrick, Colorado Parks and Wildlife says there are some easy things we can keep in mind to stay safe.
Yeah, good morning, Jessica. Perhaps the most important thing to keep in mind is to wear a life jacket, especially if you're kayaking or paddleboarding. Maybe you're on an inner tube, because a strong gust of wind, for example, can really make a difference out there on that water. CPW says that 29-year-old man who went underwater last Saturday after falling off an inner tube that a boat was pulling was not wearing a life jacket. This time of year, the water is still very cold, and that can affect your ability to swim, to float, even if you think you're a great swimmer. In Colorado, the law requires that you wear a life jacket if you're on a jet ski or an inner tube, for example, for good reason. Anyone 13 and under is also required to wear a life jacket at all times while on a boat. CPW says its rangers will often pull you over to make sure you're following the rules and keeping everyone safe.
They're out doing patrols and looking for those safety items. So you could be contacted by a ranger that's just going to check to make sure you have everything to keep you safe so you can have an enjoyable experience out on the waters.
And as you mentioned, Jessica, this morning, the boat ramp is back open. It actually opened up yesterday. We've actually seen some fishermen already taking advantage of these early hours. The search will continue for that missing man, but on a much smaller scale. CPW plans to use an underwater drone and continue to search the shorelines for him. Katie?
Patrick, thank you for those really important reminders this morning. Evacuation orders have been lifted for the residents near Durango, but they are still on pre-evacuation alert this morning. La Plata County says that the Ute Pass fire started around 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon, burning northeast of Durango between Horse Gulch and Ute Pass. 30 acres have burned, but crews have been able to slow the threat. At one point, 60 homes had to be ordered to evacuate. The cause of this fire is still under investigation. Meanwhile, more than 200 firefighters spent overnight on scene battling the High Park fire in Teller County. This fire ignited Thursday and has so far scorched more than 900 acres west of Cripple Creek. No homes have been lost, lost, but at last check, the fire is 0% contained. Officials say that more than 100 people are evacuated, and Denver 7 will continue to monitor firefighting efforts both on air and online for you.
10 Colorado police officers killed in the line of duty are now immortalized in our nation's capital. Their names added yesterday to the National Law Enforcement Memorial. Among those recognized are Boulder police officer Eric Talley and Arvada police officer Gordon Beasley. Talley died responding to the mass shooting at the Table Mesa King Soopers last March. Beasley lost his life last summer when he was shot in Old Town Arvada. The other names added also include 7 officers who died after contracting COVID-19 while on duty. That's Mesa County Sergeant Stephen Weiler, Aurora Police Officer Eric Scher, Dougco Deputy Joseph Pollock, Elbert County Deputy Clay Livingston, Windsor Police Officer Ty Powell, and Denver Sheriff's Deputies Daniel Trujillo and James Herrera. Arapahoe County Deputy Charles Wilcox died in 1899. He was also added Friday.
A high school English teacher is on administrative leave after joining students in a walkout. Dozens of Denver North's high school students walked out of class yesterday in protest of the school's decision not to renew Tim Hernandez's contract. Hernandez, who joined the walkout, says he was told he was not rehired because he didn't interview well despite holding the job for more than a year. But he believes the real reason was because he's outspoken on equity issues.
The leaders of my school have labeled me as divisive and disruptive. The principal of my school has called me aggressive and attacking, coded language that is hurtful and detrimental to men of color.
Well, despite joining the protest, Hernandez says he did not encourage students to leave class. In a statement to Denver 7, DPS did not provide a reason for putting Hernandez on leave because, quote, it does not discuss specific personnel decisions.
Broncos receiver Jerry Jeudy is out of the Arapahoe County Jail this morning. Jeudy was booked after investigators say he refused to return items to the mother of his 1-month-old child. There was no physical violence. He's been charged with second-degree criminal tampering with a domestic violence enhancer, a misdemeanor. The woman asked for charges to be dropped before a judge Friday. We heard from Jeudy's attorney, who claims the man never should have been charged or have spent last night in jail.
I think it was extreme because I don't believe a crime has been committed. I don't believe my client did anything that would rise to the level of a crime, and having someone spend the night in jail because we have this, quote, moniker of domestic violence, unquote, that is too broad, applies without any kind of discreetness, which should have been applied here.
Jeudy is scheduled to appear in court again on May 31st. For years, people living near Rocky Mountain Airport in Broomfield have complained about the increase in air traffic noise and air pollution.
Yes, and now a recent ruling from a Colorado judge is opening up the potential for lawsuits from homeowners. Denver 7's Rob Harris talked to some neighbors who say they're fed up.
It is literally loud enough to impact the ability to have a conversation in my house. And they fly over, it can be every few minutes. There you go.
Rachel Stanton and her family moved to the Rock Creek neighborhood in Superior 5 years ago. She says they were ready to deal with some noise from the nearby Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport.
We all, understood that when we moved here. And it's not that anyone wants to totally, eliminate all of that, but we want to see more controls and limitations on the amount of traffic that comes over this neighborhood. But the bigger issue is I'm concerned about the risk. The safety risk of having airplanes, small planes by people in training, coming over our homes and business.
Stanton says the amount of noise and disruption has her second guessing the home she chose. And she's not alone.
I just said, there's only one thing we can do, and that's to change our location.
Mark Ricketson lived in the Boulder area for 20 years. But in 2020, he said he'd reached his limit.
I got to the point where I said, you know what? Nobody's listening. I was noticing constant, go for a walk, and there would be just a constant drone of aircraft over your head.
The airport here has been open since 1960, but residents say the air traffic from it has greatly increased, especially in the last few years. And that's amid a nationwide shortage of pilots. Training new pilots has led to a huge increase in air traffic in the area, often including several loops around neighborhoods, as these flight diagrams show.
If it was occasional, not a problem. When it's every 5 minutes, that becomes disruptive.
A Boulder County District Court judge recently ruled in favor of the Rock Creek Master Homeowners Association, which has sued over noise violations. The ruling opens the door for individual homeowners to now sue as well. Jefferson County has appealed the ruling. as has the HOA, wanting the judge to go further and include more homes.
On a day like this, I would want to have my windows open, and it's hard to have my windows open on a beautiful spring day because there's continuous airplane noise.
For Denver 7, I'm Rob Harris.
And Denver 7 has reached out to the Rocky Mountain Metropolitan Airport and Jefferson County for comment. We have not yet heard back.
It's a sure sign of summer's return, farmers markets. Which ones are opening this weekend and what new features are being added on before you shop?
And one of Denver's longest running conventions is happening right now, what you can expect to find at Starfest coming up.